Hi, my name is Vanessa Barron, and today I'll be talking about the topic of art history and patronage of Florence versus Sorrento. Michelangelo said, "A man paints with his brains and not with his hands," which I believe to be a great representation of how artists had to use their brain to display the message of their patron. I'll be introducing the topic of art and patronage and what it is. Then I'll go into Florence and some examples of patrons and artists there. Then I'll be doing the same with Sorrento, and I'll be concluding with a comparison of the two. To begin, I'll discuss what art and patronage means in Renaissance Italy. The Renaissance had an immense influence on Italian culture and the world, especially in terms of art. The art incorporated in courts is brought to life in partnership with the personalities of the rulers who are patrons of it. Their personalities and relationships with authority are represented through each piece along with its purpose. Powerful figures relied on artistic patronage from artists and architects to promote their legitimacy and authority. Palaces were extravagantly decorated as public spectacles with paintings, sculptures, tapestries, and more to bring honor, solace, and pleasure. So, art was sometimes used as propaganda for these rulers, sometimes revealing them as powerful figures, how they wanted to be seen, or just their personal interests, or sometimes it was personal pieces for their own pleasure. To begin, I'll talk about Florence and how it was a cultural hub during the Renaissance. Many important works are from Florence. In fact, according to UNESCO, 60% of the world's most important artwork is located in Italy, half of that being in Florence. It was a republic during the Renaissance, an epicenter of the Italian Renaissance and humanism. Humanism being the movement for human art and thought. It was home to powerful merchant families that commissioned the arts, like the Medici family, who we'll talk about in the next slide. And it was the home of artistic and architectural innovation. It produced and supported many important artists who were with well-known names, and it influenced other styles and areas. And even today, it carries the legacy of the Italian Renaissance. Some examples of this are the Medici family. They were an extensively wealthy banker family that were huge patrons of the art. They supported artists and helped them thrive. They commissioned important pieces like The Birth of Venus and David that are well known, and they even hosted artists in their home like Michelangelo, who lived with them for a while and produced work in their home. They used art as a means of propaganda to show political power and influence, since they were such an influential family during the time. And they had private and public commissions, whether it be these big pieces or pieces for their home or their personal chapels and things like that. Artists that came from Florence during the Renaissance were Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci, Brunelleschi, and Botticelli, just to name a few, but there were many others who went on to become very famous. Now we'll talk about Sorrento, which was more of a quaint coastal town. It was part of the Kingdom of Naples during the Renaissance, so it was more localized and didn't have a lot of reach like Florence did. It was better known for classical or medieval roots that were later discovered. The art and architecture here was locally and regionally influenced, and the architecture usually blended styles instead of having recognizable styles. It was better known for having natural and scenic beauty. So the Renaissance here was a period of economic development, particularly agriculturally, rather than like in Florence, how it grew more artistically. Some examples from here are local church patronage. So instead of big name families and like politics, it was known for local patronage. They did, however, have some religious female patronage, which was quite interesting during the time. Churches commissioned pieces like altarpieces, thrones, statues, floor, and stucco, and only locally artists were really commissioned for these. Churches were often funded by wealthy patrons, but again, local patrons. And art was commissioned to serve religious purposes or have religious themes. Artists here were not popular. They were popular for the area, but weren't known outside of it, like Criscuolo or Francaresio. They were famous artists in this area, but again, didn't have any reach beyond it. Other than that, a lot of the artists remained anonymous. We don't know their names today or who made pieces. But we do know that wooden inlay, ceramics, and maiolica flooring were popular art styles. Finally, to conclude my presentation, Florence and Sorrento reflect the Renaissance in two very different ways, as I have just talked about. Florence was the heart of the Renaissance, driving the movement of humanism, artistic innovation, and global influence through powerful patronage. On the other hand, Sorrento was shaped locally by nature and religion within the region. It is better known for its natural beauty and layered historical roots, rather than created beauty through art and architecture like Florence. Florence led the Renaissance, while Sorrento really just remained a bystander.